High Chief Peter Ame is our guest on Nigerian Filter Studio. Let's hear your assessment of Nigeria's democracy, because people say our democracy is threatened.
I think it's obvious, and it is painful that the reality that is staring us in our face, we are not doing enough to be able to, to stop the tide from, becoming more to a dangerous dimension. Let me tell you something. You can't have a constitution that is, regularly battered the way we have our constitution, recklessly, driven with disregard, and then you say you don't have a challenge. You have section 305, that says you can declare a state of emergency where you have security issues. There was no provision in that section 305 that says that you can remove a sitting elected governor of the state, and then also you suspend the validly constituted state house of assembly that is responsible to make laws for good governance and development of that state. You have to look at where DSS is writing a report that people's Twitter handle should be shut down. DSS, the Department of State Security Service, they're going up and down looking for people to be picked up. See, we also have a situation where the president himself clearly admitted that he's happy that the democracy, the political party, in a multi-party democracy, that opposition political party are in disarray. So you can see what they are doing to try to undermine the democracy that we have tried to nurture since 1999. So there's nobody who will say that democracy is under threat, that the person is out of the line. The person is actually stating the obvious, and for us to get it right, then the opposition political party that act as a check on those in power must be up and doing, and must face this whole thing, because if the democracy crash, the alternative is not desirable. So that is why you see we must continue to speak, push the advocacy, and bring it into the ears of those in government. They enjoy the same free atmosphere for participation. They had the opportunity to be able to open, mobilize, and freely protest peacefully. But today, people in bad governance, more than 1,000 persons were arrested. More than how many persons died, lost their life. Even government was sponsoring anti-protest to be able to undermine the collective interest of the people who have genuine reason to communicate with their government. Government is not meant for those in power, it's meant for the people. So you see where people become so comfortable to think that the power belongs to them. The power you are holding in trust is not yours. And you using state resources, state security agencies to suppress the opinion of your people is against the dictate of what democracy stands for. So I accept without doubt that democracy is under threat in Nigeria if we don't do anything to stop it. Elections are not free. Elections don't represent the interest of our people. People go to election, you find out that there's more slinging. There's even bigotry everywhere. People are calling tribal names, the Igbos, the Yorubas, the Igalas, the Fulani. This is not democracy. Democracy in the recent is supposed to be issue-based. When you leave more slinging, name calling, you go to what are the developmental objectives of your government, what are you doing to be able to improve the life of the people. You put your government before, the scorecard before the people, and then the people go interrogate the scorecard you have brought on the table, and then they give you the mark that you're supposed to have, even if it's not something you are expecting. Your interest is supposed to protect the interest of the people, and that's why the Constitution, in its wisdom, did not even go, naming 30 things the government can do. There are small things government can do, and the system will open up, and there will be development, like making sure that there's security of life and property and welfare for the people. These are just what the Constitution mentioned. So where is the security? Today people can't travel around. The president doesn't want people to talk about it. Today people can't travel around. Today the president, as we speak to you, the cardinal foundation of democratic practice and norms is the fact that there's rule of law. If there's no rule of law, forget it. That means you are in the military regime. That is what separates democracy from authoritarianism, fascism, and all other form of government. So what today, you cannot say that the president approved money for Coastal Highway that is not talking about over 15 trillion, that there was appropriation for it. There wasn't an appropriation. The president will on his own, unilaterally, arbitrarily approve this money and then spend it at his own will. So what is the essence of this appropriation act that is supposed to come from the National Assembly? The president bought a private jet, paid for it, without even our intervention from without the intervention of the National Assembly to look at the costing, the competitive nature of those who are supposed to participate in the bidding process and every other thing. Because what government does is to try to look at the best cost scenario to help reduce the expenditure, capital expenditure, recurrent expenditure of government. So you don't have a government that is in place that will sit on its own There's no more public bidding. The people, Nigerians don't participate in the process. Nigerians are not aware. He selects a friend of his, like his classmate from Chicago University, where he gave to how many thousand to buy tractors that we have not seen today. He wakes up and then select another person, Chagori, who owns the company that runs the construction high-tech engineering to build the coastal highway. So these are the challenges. A government, any government that has no transparency, that has no accountability, they have something to hide. So we need to be able to be focused and speak to the government and say that democracy does not is not defined by the fact that there's a perception that there's an election. Democracy is about mandate. It's about legitimacy. It's about the fact that you are comfortable, that your people are happy, that they really hand over this mandate to you. So it's not about the fact that people should just, there was an election, go to court. That those things are the things that are killing democracy in our country, and we cannot just the judiciary is complicit in this process.
We'll come to all of that. We'll come to all of that. Let's look at our democratic challenges and, of course, the rising authoritarianism in the country lately.
You know, in more civilized clime, democracy is not just the checkmate of democracy. Is not only just by the institutions that have been established, like National Assembly, the Judiciary. This is not the proper way to checkmate democratic performance, or to check them or put them in proper line when they're derailing from the purpose of which they were elected. It is the people. The people have the power because the people in their majority form government. So if the people in their majority decide to always checkmate government and ask the right questions and take the right actions, now they have made like protest, peaceful protest, a crime in this our country. And if you look at people from the elementary level, if you go back to when you study social sciences, social studies, you find out that there's this thing that people tell you that what are pressure groups, what are the function of pressure group, what are the purpose, and this pressure group entails that people go out peacefully marching on the street or going to seek the response of their government based on how long they've been in office and what are the tangibles that they think they should have done, or what are the tangibles they've delivered within this period of time. So but when you do this, the government, since we do not really have that democratic penetration and participation and acceptance by those who are now running our security agencies, so the government through this instrument will suppress the will of the people. So you can't have that when the people don't participate, when the people disengage from political participation, when the people become very reserved and resigned to fate and say there's no need for us to allow them. This government, not their government. That is why things are getting spoiled. This government will be their government. This is our government. This is our country. The welfare of our people should be in the hands of our government. And if our government is not moving towards that direction to create an enabling environment where our people could be happy, where our people will have better standard of living, then the people should be able to voice their out. They shouldn't wait for election. The mistake Nigerians make is that they think that we do election every 4 years. That is where we participate. When we go to cast our vote, immediately after casting our vote, whatever decision that happened, whether it was rigged, whether the mandate was stolen, whether elections is not free and fair, they disengage and wait for another 4 years. That's what's killing democracy. You can't disengage. Democracy is an everyday affair. It's a continuum participation and request that better sense of service must be given to the people. So if we don't have that such kind of ability to drive such force, then you find out the government will take us for a ride. Today we have a government that are no longer, giving feedback to the people. President Tinubu is in office. Has he done any media chat? Has he been able to communicate and relate with Nigerians and say, this is where I've gone wrong, I agree. This is what you are facing, I agree. He doesn't care whether the people are suffering. He doesn't want to even know if the people are suffering. That's their business. They should tighten their belt. Him and his minister should enjoy the luxury and spec of office. We fly in private jets that is paid by Nigerian taxpayers. Drive Cadillac and all sort of luxuries, entitlement that they feel that it is their right. But why doesn't go outside government? They're talking of inflation. Food inflation is the highest contributory element to our inflation. That means the people are suffering. It's clear. So what is government doing about it? But the only thing that government has done, and they tell you, the rice have crashed. Crashed out. The farmers they are destroying the local farmers by opening up the borders, allowing free importation, massive importation from Thailand and all sorts of places, just because they want to crash the price of rice. What is the long-term effect? The long-term effect is that those who have invested in farming rice in Bronu, in Kebbi, in Sokoto, in Kogi, in Benue, they've lost all their money. So is that how you build local economy? Because local economy is supposed to be built from within the locality of our country. And if these people go back to poverty, how do you get them back upstream? So we need to have a responsible government. And to have a responsible government, we need to have citizens' engagement interest in government. Citizens cannot become they can't withdraw from government. Participation is key, and that participation entails that they should use. Look, today we used to have a time where media was totally controlled by a section by Lagos. The media section of this country was Lagos. But there's liberalization of the media system today. Every young person should be able to raise their voice high and then speak to their government. Because if you don't speak to government and you allow government the level of liberty it does not deserve, you allow government the level of freedom it does not deserve, and there's no that citizens checkmate process, you think that the people in National Assembly should be able to do the right thing. That is, what is expected. But they're not going to do the right thing when they feel that you are docile, when they feel that you are not communicating, when they feel that you are not participatory, you are not participating in the democratic process, that all you need to do is to come and conduct election. They will try to steal as much as they can, keep as much as they can, and then come to buy vote. Because at the time they are coming to buy vote, you are the oxygen. You need oxygen. You are almost dying. The person is almost dying. So you say, oh, 30,000 is okay. Let me just eat for 5 days. So these are the challenges of our democracy that the citizens, and I'm happy. I'm happy today. I won't tell you lies that I'm not. The truth is that I've been in the process for a long time. I see that our population, the younger population, is now become the vast majority of the population that becomes the body of our electorate. Because the electorate, the more informed the electorate become, the better a society, it gets it right. Because if we now have more informed electorate, and you have more 60% of our youth voting bloc coming from part of the youth bloc, then you have a well-informed decision, and that well-informed decision will translate into those who are elected. And when you elect those people who are very credible, who can deliver for the people, whose mandate will be done on legitimate voting process, who have mandate from the people, because you can have power without mandate, you can have power without legitimacy, and that vacuum is always the reason why there's disconnect between citizens and government, and it's necessary that we get it right, going forward in our democratic practice.
The media is very central to democracy all over the world. But lately we've seen a lot of journalists being harassed through the Cybercrime Act by the police, by the DSS. How do we manage this?
The Constitution is clear that we must have freedom of expression, and that freedom of our right to to have thought and even impact the thought on somebody else. So that freedom is very, in fact, what differentiates also, like I said about rule of law, also differentiate this democracy from all other form of negative government that the world has rejected, is the freedom of speech. So if that foundation is no longer there, then we are going back to government that we've rejected. We are going back to the Laviante, the Thomas Hobbes, where the state becomes brutish, nasty, and very deadly. So we need to get it, because for me, I sympathize with the Nigerian media. The Nigerian media is working under very harsh media space, because you have too much regulatory agencies, trying to restrict their will to be able to work on behalf of the Nigerian people. Even the constitution could respect the media and call them the fourth estate of the realm. So there is supposed to be that check, that invisible check, that does not have that government authority to speak for the people, and then also speak for government in a way that they represent the fact that where there's a negative information about government that is not true, they can set it right. But if the government is undermining the interest of the people, they also will stand in that gap to defend the interest of the people. So the media is a very essential component of the democratic process. But what we have today is that I think that if we don't rise up, if we don't collectively speak up, and the media also must also stand its ground to be able to defend that right, even if we have to go to court, up to Supreme Court. No, the Supreme Court, they will talk about how the challenges of the Supreme Court is also, are acting as what is making these people in government have this unbearable impact on our people. Because if we have a judiciary that is very effective, some of these draconian policies and draconian interest of those in power will not surface. They won't survive, because every time you go to court, you quash it. Under military dictatorship, we had the judiciary. That's how important the judiciary is. and that reporter it was, and that reporter it still remains. Because you can take away the National Assembly, you can take away the State Assembly during that time, but you will never take away the judiciary. Even the military acknowledge that the judiciary must be there to intercede on behalf of the masses, of the citizens of this country. But today, what we have is different. And for journalists who are doing their work, I think they should not be afraid, because one must be able to set a path for a country to survive. And if it means that what we have today is that we do not have a robust citizens participation. Because if you have a journalist that is doing the work of the people, that is sacrificing and putting his life in danger, when that such journalist when such journalists suffer under the overbearing attitude of the government, the citizens were supposed to participate and engage the government and demand the release of such a journalist and demand the free right of that journalist to be upheld. So, but you have a situation where the citizens are carried away by so much poverty, so much bad governance, they can't even find a way to rescue themselves. So it becomes difficult to speak for others. So we need to get it right, that what the government is doing. I've seen a situation, I go to a station and I find out that the government is calling the station. I've seen that station and the person calls me and say they just called him. I said, then tell them to go to hell, because I'm sorry for that language, but the fact is that they cannot, all of us cannot belong to one party. All of us cannot decide to be in one political party. It's very dangerous for this country. But the easiest thing to do is be in government. Opposition is a tax. It's too much weight to bear for any individual. It's too much weight. So people should have just moved. So you find, even no matter how you want to call the name of the person, and you find the person standing in opposition, give that person some sense of respect, because everybody running to government is easy. You just get appointed, you get an FC appointment, or you get a minister, you get salary, you get all this routine, a lot of stuff that government pays for. So what are you doing? You are not doing anything. But those in the position are sacrificing their time, their energy, their intellectual knowledge to be able to contribute and demand for good governance from those in power. Because democracy cannot survive without the necessary component working to keep it alive. The media must be there to be reporting all the issues and an unbiased manner, and then the opposition must be there to continue to checkmate the excesses of those in power. This is how democracy works.
Of course, there is also the harassment of Showere. The civic space is being shrinked on a daily basis. Showere today is with DSS, tomorrow with the police on the same cyber acts. What does it say about our democracy?
I think the people in government have gotten it wrong. They are getting it wrong for what? How do you use the whole State Department, the Department of State, to write a letter to tweet to X, to write a letter to the headquarters and demanding that a citizen of your country Twitter handle be blocked? One thing people don't understand, I might not be in the same party with Sowore, but if I allow what is happening to Sowore today to succeed, I might be next. Somebody else will be next. So we must speak in collective voice against those government policy that intends to undermine our freedom and our rights. So that's why we must speak in that manner. Because if you look at what has happened, is that the government wants to regulate free speech. That's what the government wants to do. Because it's painful that we allow this Cyber Crime Act to succeed. If we had known, all we would have done was to mobilize enough and go to the National Assembly and make sure that law did not pass. We have made that mistake, and it is now left for the court of the judiciary to be able to determine fairly if that law really is not undermining the right of the citizen to freedom of speech, to freedom of expression, and freedom of participation. So it is left for the judiciary to do that. And the judiciary should not play to the side of those in power, because the judiciary itself is a powerful institution that can save those in power for themselves. They have to save them from themselves, because excessive power without check leads to destruction. It leads to ruin. It leads to even the damage in the fall of a country. So all we want is that this country survive beyond what it is. We cannot continue with this executive recklessness. We cannot continue with this legislative spinelessness, and we should not continue with this level of decay in our public institution.
What's the assessment of the 10th National Assembly under Akpabio as the president? Are they playing their constitutional role? They're doing something else.
It's an extension of the executive. There's no doubt. It's sad because Akpabio is somebody I know, and I've always felt when he was in PDP that he contributed well to his state. But since he got to the National Assembly, I think he has destroyed what is left of the National Assembly, independence of the National Assembly. He has collapsed the institution there to become like a state executive affair, because it's under his watch that I found out that it has made the National Assembly, that is supposed to be a very respected chamber, that is supposed to be a collective representative of our people, because it's not meant to represent the interest of a party. When you are speaker, or you are Senate President, you are Senate President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So you're no longer working for interest of one party, though you came from a platform of party, but as you gather there, you are supposed to put the interest of Nigeria at heart. But what I have seen, it is under his watch that I found out that the executive had no respect for the National Assembly. They do not want to communicate with them. The National Assembly found out, I remember when people confronted Akpabio about the president buying a jet. He said no, as soon as the president brings the request, they will approve it. Till today, the president has not taken the request there, and the jet is already flying all over the world. So you can see that there's no respect even for them, for what they are supposed to stand for as the major institution that is supposed to go and do proper check on the executive by doing oversight functions. Because the primary purpose of the National Assembly, primary purpose, is to make law for good governance and development of the country. Primary purpose. And then you do what they call this oversight work by making sure that whatever budget that is brought before you aligns with the reality of our time. It is not a misaligned allocation of resources. It was an intention to overpad resources for personal use, but for the benefit of the general public. But what we have today is that they are more interested in feeding their own ego, in feeding their own interest, than feeding the interest of the people. And on that same issue.
So guys, Peter Eme has come out to drag Tinubu and Akpabio. He went on further to say that Akpabio has really destroyed the House of Senate. Nothing is left in the National Assembly again. As well as Tinubu does not care about Nigerians. Like, this man really said a lot. And I'm sure you guys have listened to everything he said. So guys, if you know you're coming across my channel for the first time, do well to hit the subscribe button, like and share this video, and drop your thoughts in the comment section below. So guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys again in my next video.